And good morning, everybody. Spin Ventures here live from Macon, Georgia, at the hotel room. And today we're going on another Spin Venture to Savannah, Georgia. A very, very historical and haunted place. The number one haunted place in the United States. And last night, I got reservations on a ghost tour for tonight, and I am super excited for that. And I'm going to bring you guys along with me, and we are going to explore the city of Savannah. The creepier side of Savannah. But that's later on tonight. This afternoon, we're going to be going to historical sites, museums. I found out that the Georgia State Railroad Museum is in Savannah, so we're going to be going to that, and a couple of historic homes, and just walking around the city of Savannah to explore. So I'm about ready. Of course, I got my stuff packed up and ready to go, and we're about ready to take off. It's a 2-hour drive. I'm wanting to try to be there by lunch so I could get lunch, and then we're going to take off and just go to the museums and historical sites of Savannah. So let's go on another Spin Adventure. And good morning, everybody. We have finally made it to the historical site of Savannah, Georgia. And as you can see, we're right in front of the Savannah History Center, Visitor Center, also as the History Center. And today we are just going to walk around the city of Savannah, a historical site, and see everything. They got a railroad museum here, and it's actually the Georgia State Railroad Museum, which it was actually pretty out of pure luck and miraculous, because I didn't know where the railroad museum was, and on the whole, it isn't in the historical city of Savannah. So hopefully it does not rain on us. The gray clouds up there, but as you can see, here we go. This is the Visitor Center of Savannah. And then just across the street over here is the Old Town Trolley Tours. Of course, they got trolley tours coming in and out. And parking is free on Sundays. So that was another miraculous thing, was that I don't have to pay to park. So I can stay here all day. I can park in there, park in that lot all day, not have to pay to park. See over here, you can see they have the Old Town Trolley Tours over there, and then also over here is the Ghost Tours of Savannah, Ghost and Graveyard Tours, which I have scheduled for tonight. Ghost and Gravestone Tours for tonight. And cannot wait to see what the day will hold for me here in the great and historical city of Savannah. College of Art and Design. So let's go head inside the visitor center and take a look around. Of course, we got some brochures. They probably got a gift shop. They have just some memorabilia, collectible items here. As the bell rings for the trolley, and we'll head on in. Here they got a restaurant. They do have a gift shop. The history museum's inside here. So let's go take a look around. Alright, so we're in the gift shop first. And just take a look. These are some of the books. Some of, of course, the Savannah Afterlife, paranormal stuff. Savannah at Savannah. Savannah Civil War. You got baseball in Savannah. Civil War, Savannah. Saving Savannah.
Holy moly, is it hot?
Oh, look.
There you go. Do you need some wood for your tree? Because
Yeah, I
I
like
collected
this
for
one.
you. How much is that then? These are 20. Oh, okay, get the price to be mine. That's not a no-brainer.
This is a delicacy in Georgia. The steak is pecan pie. Pecan pie.
We could get that. You could get that at the beach, though. Come out, see? I told you to get these.
Oh, I like this one.
Excuse you. Yeah, what's the one you got that's all colors like that?
It's the one
Owen's house, Thomas house, pink
Okay,
house,
you want to get that? How much is it?
Davenport.
It's fine, that was only 11. But this, that's better than.
Fried chicken.
You know that goes in the house, right? Because we're going to move. I don't know where we're moving. I think I need to get this just so that
Another beautiful day in
it's kind of a lot of money.
Savannah, Georgia. Shot glasses. Really nice. Oh, that's the fountain. Nice fountain.
Look at that. Look at that.
Right now we are heading to the Georgia State Railroad Museum and the History Museum down this hall. This lady up here in white. Looks like she'd probably be a ghost. And then of course you got the bags. I don't know what the bags are, but you know, nothing puzzle. We are heading right into the Savannah History Museum. And there it is. Let's go take a look around, shall we? Come to one of my favorite parts of this museum. There's a giant locomotive in the museum. Locomotive number 403. This locomotive is back to the Civil War. Also, I've been working on the railroad. It's part of the Central Georgia Railway Company. It's got the rules and instructions. 1880, the Central Railroad and Banking Company of Georgia had 82 locomotives to pull 38 passenger cars, 47 mail cars, and 1,100 freight cars. The Central had 1,537 total employees, including 64 engineers, 28 conductors. Conductor's hat right here is a 1947 conductor's hat. Responsible for keeping records of the train, checking on the brakeman, calculating pull aside and letting other trains pass, generally keeping watch. Passenger train conductors took care of the passengers, collected tickets, handled money, and kept accounts. Explosives, handle carefully, fire away. Updating the railroad, you got Henry McKay Sr. He worked for the Central Georgia Railway from 1919 to 1963 as a lineman, electrician, electrical engineer, and master mechanic. These are some of his equipments. An electrical test meter, testing AC and DC volts. Rotation meter for checking RPMs, revolution per minute. Thermometers, checking temperatures of train cars and AC duct. And a cyclographs and a wet-dry thermometer for determining humidity, because it does get hot in the summertime here in Georgia. Drafting instruments. Use the train passes to travel free of charge for business and pleasure. Central of Georgia instituted lifetime courtesy passes to family of railroad workers so they can travel for free. Very cool. This is some of the dining cars and dining equipment and gloves. for handling food and restaurant service. So you can see the big giant wheels there on the locomotive. This is the riding the rails and dining. By rail, ushered in a faster, more comfortable traveling experience, whether traveling in private car or third class. Easily connected with friends and family to each other, took travelers to exciting new destinations. The baggage car, the Taiping Depot. I like to ride on a train like this. This is the interior of Union Station. Seaboard Airlines, Southern Railway, Land Coastline Railroad. You are standing in central Georgia passenger depot, several blocks north of where Union Station once stood. So this was a depot. That's cool. Oh look, talk show radio stations. X-ray. Or X-ray. No, it's not. Never mind. This is the X-ray station for dentists and dentist visits and doctor visits. Yeah, dentist. I don't read that right. So let's go ahead and head up here to the platform of passenger service of the 20th century. Man of War. Man of War was he was also a horse, name of a horse, racehorse, who won the Kentucky Derby a few years ago. Right there, Man of War. Nancy Hanks. Coal saving dog. Buster. Of course, you got the drivers. Pilot truck, which cow catcher on the front there. Call tender, the cab, the engine, itself. See locomotive. Oh, hello, sir. Got a guy in the train. There he is. Driving the train. Let's go on the other side and look at the other side of the railway. But you are here. This is what the passenger said looked like several years after train service ended in 1973. Oh no! Wow, it's vacant. So we are here in Savannah. There's Savannah right there. That's there. Yeah, there it is. This is the railroad that went all over town. It went to Birmingham, Montgomery, and went down to and done Lockhart over here, and it also went to Atlanta. Left to right. Railroad. This is the rail yard that was once stood here in Savannah. I think it still does. I believe it's still here. And you got Savannah Civil War. So we got General Office Building, Passenger Station on West Broad Street, Yard of Rail Warehouse. Where we are actually going to be going next is the Train and Railroad Museum. We're doing some stuff there, or seeing stuff there, and the actual turntable that is still in operation today. So let's go from the railroad to what the railroads were actually used for in Savannah, the Civil War. And good afternoon, everybody. Sven Ventures here, still at the Savannah History Center, and wow, already fantastic day, learning so much history and so much that went on in the early days of Savannah, and we still got more to go, but just wanted to wrap things up here at the Visitor Center, and then we're going to trek on to find something to eat. And then after that, we're going to head on over to Forsyth Park, take some pictures, And then after that, we're going to try to get over to Fort Jackson. Possibly. If not, we could actually probably do it tomorrow morning. Head on over to Fort Jackson. But maybe not. We'll try to get everything done today that I wanted to see. And then we'll be ready for tonight, the ghost tour of Savannah. So, thank you for joining me here at the Railroad Museum and at the Savannah Visitor Center and History Museum. We will see you all shortly on the next Spin Venture. Alright, so we are on our first stop at on our ghost tour this evening. We are at the Anderson House. We are going to go inside and be able to look around and see everything inside that is originally built in America's most haunted city in the United States. So, I'm so ready. I'm ready to take some pictures. Going to be talking about different stuff and listening to our tour guide in the evening, mostly letting her do the talking. But, as always, so ready to go inside and see if we can see any creepy activity.
Outside of the home if you haven't already. And I will say, even out here, people say they feel this weird sort of energy about our home, like people might have already joined us this year. Don't know why that is, but I mean, makes sense. It's a haunted home. You could even be haunted out here. But when did you notice if somebody actually walked up behind you? Hello. Now, everybody do not be alarmed. That is one of our caretakers. So please, put your blind trust into her because you have to take her into the courtyard. That is where we're going to start our event. And don't worry, I'm going to call her dead last. That's actually a movie, so I have to say. But please be very careful as you're heading down the sidewalk.
Alright.
It looks like a boxy walk.
We're all following a lady. So that side of the Anderson House, a little bit interesting back here. Can't wait to go inside.
Old to work in his uncle's cotton factory business. Now, back then, cotton equaled money, so he became a very well-to-do person in his own right here in Savannah. But unfortunately, there was a big theme of tragedy in his life because he inherited that business, bought this plot of land, and then his first wife, Sarah Cecil Hunter, and their 4-year-old son got really sick and then passed away before ever getting to step into this home. And he was devastated. He loved them so much. Wanting to grow his family, he decided he was going to stay here a little longer. And then actually 5 years after this home got built, he met another woman named Mary Cooper Stiles. And he loved her so much too. And she ended up becoming his second wife. They were married for 12 years until she actually passed away in this home from having some lingering complications from having Andrew Lowe's 6th child.
Welcome to the Angelo house. My name is Celeste. I'm the head caretaker. Now I know that we just met, but it's my job to cut you guys into two. But not the fun way. She took my ass. Instead, we'll be using your guide and myself to create a dividing line, so it can go step to one side of the courtyard or the other.
Definitely a heavy pull
Yeah.
on this side. I could have at least 2 or 4 cross over.
I'll cross.
Think that fixed it.
Yep.
Works for me. You wanted to get away from your family, I see.
All right. Now this side, guess what? It's just me. We're going to begin our journey upstairs. Now this side, don't worry. You're going to stick with your lovely guide. You're going to begin your journey downstairs. Now we're going to hear the same thing, see the same thing, just in a slightly different order. But before I go in, I do have some rules.
Brother, I thought we were going with the lady in black. Alright, up into the house. Here we go. Single file line. Oh, the tree. Alright, we are inside the Anderson house.
Furnishing the antiques, hand-carved molding on the ceiling, and this actually contains some of the only portraits we have remaining of the people that lived here. Like that portrait over on the family side of the parlor. This is Mary Cooper Stiles Lowe, Andrew Lowe's second wife. And then, that is the man of the hour himself, is Andrew Lowe. Painted when he was 23 years old, and he's got that bright red hair that I want y'all to remember. Now, this side of the parlor also contains a very haunted object. Anybody want to take a guess as to what they think it is?
A fire.
Yeah, you got it. It is the piano. I heard somebody say, no, I don't want to take a guess. That is a baby grand piano forte made to mimic the sound of a grand piano forte without taking up the space of one. So how they actually did that is if you were to take it and pretty much stand it upright. Underneath that yellow fabric is where the strings are, but because of gravity, it was pulling down so tight you'd have to tune the piano every 2 to 3 hours for it to work. Now, if you played piano, you may know you take all day to tune one, so eventually they decided it was too tedious. They cut the strings inside and glued the piano keys down so it wouldn't shred the instrument from the inside. Stroke of luck, because if you did find her, it was because you had to follow many of her students of practice, most of them either practicing in voodoo or voodoo themselves. Once you finally got there, she could have your rivals be ridden by a hag. Basically, she could have your rivals have a boo hag follow them around. Just know it's a really ugly old witch. Now, the other thing she could do is if you had a really nefarious rival, she could give you black candles. Now, these candles were said to kill people. What that was believed is if you lit the candles and only focused on your victim for 3 days, you didn't even eat or drink anything, but by the time the candles burned out, your victim would fall dead. Now, I will say, people are really shocked when I say that, but it did not happen very often because Valerie Fennell Bowles, or Dr. Buzzard, again, she was a hard woman to find. But I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about our second stop of the evening, the Perkins & Sons ship chandlery. Now, sailors, of course, were a lot of times the people that wanted to find Dr. Buzzard even before she was around, but the first thing I actually want to tell you about is chandleries. Now, chandleries were general goods stores that used to be all over this city. Everything you see before you used to actually be what these chandleries were. They were a general goods store where sailors could buy things like turpentine, resin, twine, and rope. But eventually, sailors were not our liked clientele, so they started to close them down, dwindling them down until we only had one remaining. And now the only chandlery we have left, well, we don't even use it as a store. It's now a warehouse and a museum. Because even though our sailors weren't liked back then, the sailors we have now have been finding so many cool artifacts that they have seen in the oceans and in rivers. So they said, can you please store them in here? Can't have us have them stored? So they said, sure. And now everything we have found from the Mid-Atlantic has been stored in this building. Now there is one item I'm going to show you in here. You're really got to see to believe, so I'm just going to have you wait patiently for that. But as we're coming to this location, I will let you know, not only is this building air conditioned because it actually preserves some of the artifacts in here, it's kind of dark, mainly because they're trying to replicate the ocean we found the artifacts in. Also, there are no stairs in this location, so it makes it pretty exciting for me. But River Street is usually where we get to test out our brakes a lot, so please wait till Thomas comes to a full and complete stop and for the lights to turn on before we all head off.
We're inside the room. It's story time. With the books. They're all just
And I will say that bench across the way, y'all love it so much.
they're all sitting on that.
Sorry if y'all gotta make some friends this evening.
I think
Yeah, somebody said it's like herding cats. It's like that for in here too, so don't worry. But now that you're all seated, welcome to the Perkins & Sons, everybody. There's been a lot of things over the years, but what? What are you looking at? Not the cat again. She eats the bones. I'll be right back. She belongs to the kids upstairs. She can't eat.
We're about to get jump scared.
you thought wrong. Hey,
Who are you people?
Who are you?
who are
It was a
you?
rhetorical question. But since you asked, I am Silas Perkins, and you people are in my warehouse. Now, didn't you see the signs on that door that said private, keep out, stay out? Ugh! People nowadays have no respect for nothing or nobody, and look at you here. Yeah, look around. What a pitiful looking lot you are. Yes, pitiful. Most of you look like you've never worked a single day in your life, especially you two right here on the front row. Yeah, yeah, not like the man in that picture on the wall up there. Now that's Henry Willing, and believe me, there ain't a single one of you in here that want to be in his shoes. Yeah, I'll tell you why, too. Because he's been dead about 140 years, that's why. Longer than I've been dead. Thank you. But Henry Willink was a great shipbuilder here on the Savannah River. But he had a lot of tragedies in his life. Ladies, he was married 3 times. 3 times. You know what happened to his wives? They all died. His first wife was visiting him at the docks when she tripped over a line or something, fell into the river, drowned, and was swept away and never seen again. And his second wife died from the devil's disease, yellow fever. And his third wife, well, she just up and died for no reason at all. But after the war between the states, Henry's 2 sons returned home. And oh, he thought certainly he would pass his shipbuilding legacy on to them. That all changed. In the early morning hours of May 1866, his son Alexander made his way to work down by the river, where he came upon some men trying to load heavy cargo on a ship. But it seems as though that load had found the rope and the rigging, how the boom, and it wouldn't move. So Alexander went over and scaled that towering derrick, shimmied his way out on that boom, and he wrestled with it and wrestled with it, but it wouldn't move. He decided then to come back down. He slowly made his way down. His father Henry stood right on the dock, looking up at his son, and just as he thought the boys made it to safety, the load shifted again. Oh yeah, I saw you over there. Your mind said go and your feet said no, didn't it? Alexander fell to the dock below, crushing his bones, cracking his skull. The poor boy lay on his deathbed nearly 4 hours. Are you okay over there, or are you praying down there? All right. Now when Savannahans hear those footsteps on the cobblestones and in these warehouses at night, they know to step aside because they know it's just Henry Willing headed off to his shipyard in the middle of the Oh no. I had trouble with this bunch of fools last night. I thought I'd gotten rid of them.
Turn the lights off. Turn the lights off again.
Hey, hey! Move along. I told you last night to stay away from it. Oh, what? No, you listen to me. My mother was a saint. Don't you ever say that again, you rumhead.
Rumhead?
Keep an eye on that window for me. Thank you. That is the sound of the Sons of Liberty out there. You see, patriots were so angered over taxation without representation, they formed the Sons of Liberty. But soon afterward, protests broke out in the streets and squares and up and down the riverfront. While patriots were so angered, they tarred and feathered loyalists and they burned King George in effigy. That left the royal governor no choice but close the fort down, leaving the sailors nothing to do but roam the streets all day and drink rum. Sounds terrible. After a long day of rum drinking, one of them decided to protest, dragged an old cart over from somewhere, whilst another managed to produce a mask intended for the effigy. Everyone, if you will, please say hello to my dear friend George.
Hi, George.
Hey, George.
Thank you kindly. Then they built a gallows on that cart, tacked a 3-legged stool onto it, but oh, the fun ain't over yet. No, with the promise of wine, women, and song, they coaxed a young cabin boy, 12 years old, just about like you, up on that stool, put a hangman's noose around his neck, shoved that mask over the boy's noggin, and then paraded him up and down River Street to the delight of the sailors cheering him on. But by now, that rum has worked its magic and they needed more. They went up the bluff to Mac Henry's tavern, left the boy out there. He struggled and struggled to get that mask off, slipped off that stool and cart, slowly strangled to death. Ah! and because of the shenanigans of those sons of liberty out there, dozens from a tavern passed by the boy, no one stopped to help him. Most of the American Revolution, they still haunt this city. Some say those sailors are doomed to relive that tragic night, but others say you can hear the echo of sea shanties on Factor's Walk. But in the afterlife, a special place is reserved for those salty sailors. That old devil, he ain't serving no rum, not one drop. I have no